It's one hell of a huge laser. We're gonna check it out and see our brand new Roadster Shop chassis in this episode.
Banks built, protected by AMSOIL, with support from Roadster Shop and Nitto.
Back with Josh Henning of Roadster Shop. Take us through this section right here. So this is the chassis shop. I see a lot of raw metal over here. Behind us is one hell of a laser. Can you explain?
Yeah, so we're at the beginning of the chassis shop. Raw materials come in, flat or tube. They go straight through this laser. It's our Ermaksan 16-foot fiber flat laser as well as a tube laser with pallet changer. So we can be pulling parts that are cut while we're cutting more parts, put a new sheet on, and repeat the process. It needs to be going all the time. And yeah, that's kind of the
So what I know about fiber lasers, they are made for going around the clock non-stop, correct?
Correct.
What kind of thickness can you get up to on something like this?
On the steel, we can go up to 1/2 inch, which we very rarely do anything that thickness. You know, most of it's 3/16 or 10 gauge on all of our Fast Track and Revo chassis.
Gotcha.
So behind us, or behind you, I should say, we're looking at all the tubular steel, and that's getting cut for a spec series chassis like we have?
Correct.
All right, and then the pieces that we're standing on would be for more...
Fast Track and Revo are all done out of fabricated rails. So we cut them out of 10 gauge plate steel, and then that's basically a top and a bottom and two sides. So we're building a box, welding on all four corners, the entire length of the chassis, and then grinding that down and dressing it down so it looks like an intricate, frame rail. Those chassis and some of the designs that we do, you just can't do out of box tubing. So it has to be done out of fabricated. Sometimes we go from a 2 1/4 by 2 inch and then gradually transition to a 3 by 5, and all of that's done seamless. You just obviously can't do that in existing box tubing.
So with a fiber laser like this, what kind of thickness can you go up to?
We run up to 1/2 inch. That's very rarely that we do that. Most of the stuff's 3/16 down to 10 gauge on the plate. Predominantly 10 gauge stuff is what all our frame rails and bracketry is made out of.
And then how about tubing? How big can you go on the tube cutting portion?
Go up to 8 by 8.
Wow.
8 by 8 tubing.
Yep,
You're
if you
cutting
wanted
in this. Oh my Lord.
Most of our stuff, the biggest we do is like 2 by 5. We do some 6-inch main rails. Nothing over 3 inches wide if we're getting into the 6-inch. But that's some of our bigger heavy-duty 4-wheel drive, custom one-off stuff.
Our spec series chassis is coming off the rack over here. It's going to the laser. It's being pie cut, etc. And then you'll take us down the line and see how it's made.
We'll kind of show all the different facets of the operation as we go. So that's cutting out a frame rail package right now, a couple of frame rail packages actually. And that'll be all the small parts associated with that individual chassis, and then that'll be both main frame rails, the tops, the bottoms, and both sides. You can see when it's making a long straight cut, it does a little zigzag, and that's cutting the male and female tabs to let those pieces go together and lock in the jig to make sure that all the bend radiuses and all the brakes are in the proper location.
A lot of forethought saves time afterwards.
It does. It's faster to put together, but it's also a telltale sign if one of the brakes or bends is wrong because it won't lay in that tab correctly. So if it's not laying in there, then something down the line is wrong.
Have you had a frame rail yet to max out the machine? You said 16 feet, that'd be a long frame.
We've had to do some crazy Lincolns and extended stuff that we've had to do separate frame rails on.
Okay.
But far and few between.
And so, do you worry about nesting the stuff tightly, or do you just scrap a ton of metal?
No, Kyle's really good about nesting all the parts together. It has auto nesting, but he also does it manually as well. We have very few scrap. At the end of the day, if you do have some scrap, it's not the end of the world, but with the volume that we're doing, there's enough parts to nest on everything.
These machines aren't that common, are they?
No, this actual machine is the only one like it in the world to have this length and to be flat and tube laser all in one.
Oh, mackerel. So it's inexpensive, what you're saying?
Yeah, very inexpensive. Cost is relative. You have to have the equipment to do the job.
Sure, right tools.
Yep.